6'6" wing Kaleb Glenn, one of the few transfer portal ads that Michigan State made this offseason, unfortunately tore his patellar tendon. He is expected to miss the year and take a medical red shirt this season. Card, I'm sorry, man. I know you were excited about him. It was tough to not like the skill set he could bring and some of the lineup flexibility he could offer, given the shooting progressions he made this past season at FAU. Thought and build, and even some of the bounce looked a little Cohen Carr like, but of course that range beyond the arc was supposed to be the compliment there, and figured to be, if not a starter, one of the top seven guys in the rotation. How are you handling the news? Where does Michigan State go from here? How are you, my friend?
I mean, look, obviously, it, I'm down in the dumps about it, right? Like Caleb Glenn was going to be a very big contributor to this team, and for him to have this like kind of a freak accident, like it was, I supposedly it was a non-contact like shooting drill, and just a really a freak accident. You feel awful for the kid who, just Caleb Glenn himself plays for Kenny Payne. Let's go ahead and get that out right there. Like he went through hell and back playing for that guy, right? Transfers, goes to FAU, finds his footing, is really good for FAU, and then is coming back to play at the Power Five level. I was very excited for him, just given what he can do and the points that you made, right? Like the past couple years for Michigan State basketball, we haven't necessarily had just like a versatile, athletic shooting big wing, right? Like we have been playing Jay Akins at the three for the most part the past couple of years, and Jay Akins is 6'3" at max, I think. So, Caleb Glenn bringing that size, that frame, that shooting, the athleticism. I also thought he had a little bit of untapped defensive versatility at his size that he wasn't necessarily asked to do at FAU. It definitely hurts for Michigan State, for a team that, you know, I think is a little thin in contributors now. I'm gonna go ahead and take off the I'm very sad hat and go a little bit positive in a second. But before I go positive, Riley, you got kind of anything else you want to say about the impact of Caleb Glenn and this injury?
Yeah, I just love that it's like this dude just suffered a debilitating injury, but that is the one beach, the one A being
No,
played
like
for
this, yeah,
for Kenny Payne for
yeah,
the
yeah,
trauma that Caleb
honestly,
Glenn
I
has
know
suffered.
he's gonna persevere through this because nothing worse is that year he had with playing for Kenny Payne. Like this is nothing. He'll get through this.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get through the 7-win season, I think you can get through some rehab for the patellar tendon for sure. Yeah, man, I think it looks like the onus is just going to be on Cam Ward. I mean, he's your big name recruit. He's the guy who I know you and Greg were talking about this on a show recently, who theoretically you want him to have the Jace Richardson type bump where he's a highly thought after recruit. He's not really seen as a one and done potential, but maybe he comes in now with a little added opportunity and blossoms in it. That is the pivot to me for what Michigan State should do. I would love to see Izzo dip into the Ishbia fund and go find some international wing playing in the Adriatic League or something, or get someone from Spain. Surely there's someone playing in a Spanish league who is thinking about that Verde y Blanco. Um,
It's honestly kind of fire.
But yeah, to me, Cam Ward seems like the natural and most likely pivot of where it's like, all right, Cam, you came here to be on the biggest stage. Guess what? You're thrust into a much bigger role right away.
Yeah, and knowing Tom Izzo and how this staff kind of operates, I think that it's going to get to a point where they honestly more so double down on the pieces that they have, right? Like the one thing about it is, and this is me speaking from a kind of a hope and a wishing standpoint, right? Like I'm a believer in these guys, and I think that shifting from Caleb Glenn, obviously you lose that positional size and shooting and athleticism, but if you were to, I'm gonna go ahead and put my green be happy hat on. If there was a area to lose a player, I guess the front court is the one I'd rather lose one in than the back court because like there's this log jam in the front court. Now the only thing is the shooting, right? The shooting that Caleb Gunn brought. He's the only guy who was a 40% three-point shooter last season. He played a lot of minutes. That is gonna be crazy to lose, obviously. But you need other guys to step up and knock down shots. If Kurt Tang can take a step in his second year, that would go a long way. Jordan Scott, we might need him to be more ready than he was possibly going to be at this point. And then guys like Cam Ward, I think you're going to sacrifice shooting, right? You're going to sacrifice that, but Cam Ward has the frame and the athleticism and every other tool that I think could necessarily fit in. And obviously, Michigan State hasn't been a team that, excuse me, has shot the ball necessarily well these past 2 years. But, I could see a world where Coach Izzo kind of maybe just hopes that guys like Kurt Tang and Jordan Scott have the ability to knock down shots, and they just lean into just like having this athletic team. Like maybe Cam Ward slots in there, and you could see a lineup where maybe you do Cohen Carr at the three, Cam Ward at the four, and one to five there. I mean, it wouldn't be Cole or anything like that. And obviously, the shooting would be tough to watch with that lineup, but if the athleticism is good enough, if everything else is good enough, you could see some other things happen. Trey Fort's ask is going to get much bigger now, I think, too. Now that Kaleb Glenn's not a part of the fold, it's really going to be leaning into others stepping up, which is a scary thought because that's not a given. Like this is me. There's some. I'm a Kurt Tang believer. I was in him coming out of high school. I haven't seen it yet though. So
So
you can never just bet on these guys just becoming what you think they might be.
This video is brought to you by NBA 2KLab.com. 2K Lab worked with us last summer as well. They're one of our favorite entities in all of sports gaming. We want to show you their college basketball stadium locator challenge game. And I'm going to share a screen right now as we do this. South Carolina, bang. Oh,
Ooh,
okay, that's pretty good. Next, North Carolina. Why are we only getting the Carolinas?
please
Bang.
lock in.
St. John's, that's New
New
York.
York.
Bang.
Where's New Jersey?
We're on fire. Colorado. I actually don't know what state Colorado is.
It's in Colorado. There's a state of
Is that
Colorado.
this one?
It's to the right of Phoenix.
Anyway, you get the picture. This game's really fun. They've got more games as well, like Guess the NBA Player, Mystery Fantasy Draft, and more. Stay tuned for all of the college football content and games that they'll be putting together to help you get the best experience out of college football 26. Back to the video.
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Tang because I know, look, we've been doing this long enough where I feel like just by proxy, I absorb a lot of Michigan State optimism and or propaganda.
Yeah.
Optimism at best, propaganda at worst. And I know you were a believer in Tang, and I think your whole fan base was this time last year. There was those practice videos were making people a believer in Tang. What is the sell on him? What's his game supposed to be like?
So this is the thing. I'm talking about Kaleb Glenn, who's like a 3-4, in my opinion. I think Tang is a 2. You could play him at the 3, but you'd be a little bit
Mhm.
undersized, which we know Tom Izzo wouldn't mind necessarily. But Tang to me is obviously he's a shooter. He's a guy that can knock down shots. He's very, very smooth. Not necessarily like the best athlete in the world, but I think he does a lot of his work just kind of smooth pull-ups, mid-range. I think he can do some catch and shoot stuff. He didn't necessarily do it at the high school level because he was honestly asked to have the ball in his hands and go get one. He played for Mass Rivals on the Adidas circuit, played in Boston for high school, but he's a kid that I think you can count on to knock down shots. And I think he could just by him being a catch and shoot guy, that would go a long way. But I think he can do a little bit more than that. I think the stroke is good. It's just we have seen guys that we want to be shooters and be scorers come from the high school level and it never matriculates. So it's never a given. But I always compared Kurt Tang to like he's not this player, but Josh Langford loved to shoot a good deep two at his time in Michigan State. I could see Kurt Tang being that guy as well. Or if the handle comes along a little bit more, maybe Travis Trice in his game. But I think he's gonna have to take a step this year, and it's gonna go a long way for Michigan State if he can take that step.
Hmm. Yeah, one more question. As again, we've hit on some of these guys who we could see stepping up, who are going to be asked into a bigger role. I'm still not a Trey Fort believer. Maybe if he has a big non-con and does it against good comp, I will. I think it's just like SoCon for the by and large, SoCon transfers have not worked out and really haven't come close to it. So with Cam Ward, I know he was someone who I highlighted at the beginning. To me, at least from what I've watched of him, it looks like the sell on him is supposed to be more of I don't know if you'd quite call him a point wing, but more of a wing who's got good athleticism, who can put the ball on the deck, who doesn't mind screening and rolling, but he can play out a pick and roll as well. Do you think that works alongside Cohen Carr if neither of them are shooters? Do you think that maybe his jumper's further along than we might expect? Like how good can Cam Ward be with the added opportunity now?
I mean, look, I think if anything, you maybe pencil Cam Ward as the first guy off the bench, where it maybe would have been
Mhm.
Caleb Glenn, right? Because
Okay.
I
Because
don't
you
know,
think
there's been
Fort's at the two, Carr at the three, Kohler at the four. Like you probably don't want to move Carr down to the
right,
two.
and
Like
there's been
Ward.
like a lot of rumors and speculation that part of Cohen Carr like not looking elsewhere or not looking at anything else was like kind of the sell that he would be back and be a starter at the three apparently, which I'm not sure if I'm buying or not. But with that said, I think you're looking at a lineup of Jeremy Fears, Trey Ford or Kurtang at the two, Carr at the three, Kohler four, Cooper five, because Carson Cooper's gonna is Izzo's guy. But now I think you're looking at a role where Cam Ward's probably gonna be the first guy off the bench, and obviously you're gonna be looking on where shooting needs to come from. It'd be Kurtang in this case if he comes off the bench, or Trey Ford if he comes off the bench. I had the same inklings about Trey Ford, and if that bucky ball nonsense is really gonna translate to this level, but. Uh, in any regard, just a massive loss. I mean, it's funny to say that because this is gonna come off as disrespectful, but I really don't mean it to be disrespectful, and I'm really, really sorry. It sucks that we lost Caleb Glenn. Can I say something though?
Please.
I mean, it's also Caleb Glenn. Like, I like with all due respect, we are going to miss him gravely. But there are other players on this team, and other guys need to step up. And what is it? The Verde and Blanco must go on. Vamos. We need to keep it rolling. But yeah, it's gonna be sorely missed. And now I'm wishing Caleb Glenn the best of luck in his recovery, and honestly looking forward to hoping he can get back to this level and be back next year and be a major contributor on the team. Because I think we are gonna need him. But speedy recovery to Caleb Glenn. If you are hoping for Izzo to pivot and grab somebody else, just breathe out. Don't hold your breath. We want you to be with us longer.